You did everything right. You saved your money. You avoided risky investments. Maybe you even found a high-yield account paying 5%. And yet, you're still falling behind. Not because you're making bad decisions, but because no one told you this. Your savings account isn't growing your money. It's quietly draining it. And once you see the math behind it, you'll never look at your bank the same way again. 1. The 5% illusion. 5% sounds good. In fact, it sounds great. For years, savings accounts paid almost nothing. So when banks suddenly started offering 4%, even 5%, it felt like you finally caught a break, like your money was finally working. But here's the part no one explains. 5% is just a number, not a result. Because what actually matters isn't the rate you see, it's what's left after everything else takes its cut. And the biggest cut? Inflation. Let's break it down simply. If inflation is 4% and your savings account gives you 5%, you might think, I'm earning 5%. But in reality, you're only ahead by 1%. That's your real return. And even that number isn't safe. Because now comes the second layer most people ignore: taxes. Your interest gets taxed. So that 1%, it shrinks again. Sometimes to almost nothing. Sometimes below zero. Which means this: your money isn't really growing. It's just barely keeping up. Or worse, slowly falling behind without you noticing. And that's the illusion. You feel like you're making progress, but in reality, you're just standing still in a system that rewards movement. 2. How banks really use your money. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. When you deposit money, it feels like you're putting it somewhere safe, like it's just sitting there, waiting for you. But that's not what's happening. The bank doesn't store your money, it deploys it. Your deposit becomes fuel. They lend it out. They finance loans. They invest across different channels. Your money moves constantly, quietly. And every time it moves, it generates income. Not for you, for them. Because the system is built on one simple idea. They pay you less than they earn. Let's make it real. You deposit 1 lakh rupees. To you, that's savings. To the bank, that's inventory. They can lend that money at 8%, sometimes 10%, even higher depending on the loan. But what do they give you? 4%, maybe 5% if it's a high-yield account. That difference? That's not small. That's their profit engine. And it scales across millions of customers, billions in deposits. So while you feel secure, while you feel like your money is working, it is working. Just not for you. It's working harder for the bank than it ever does for you. And once you see that, you realize something powerful. Your savings account isn't a growth tool. It's a system designed to benefit the institution holding your money. 3. The real enemy: silent erosion. The biggest threat to your money isn't a market crash. It's not volatility. It's not even bad decisions. It's erosion. Slow, invisible, relentless. The kind that doesn't scare you because you don't see it happening. Here's how it plays out. You save consistently. You build discipline. Your account balance goes up, little by little. And that feels good. It feels like progress. But behind the scenes, prices are rising. Your purchasing power is shrinking. And this is the shift most people never make. Money isn't about the number in your account. It's about what that number can actually buy. If your savings grow at 5%, but the cost of living rises at 6%, you didn't gain, you lost. Not visibly, not dramatically, but consistently, year after year. And that's what makes it dangerous, because nothing feels wrong. There's no alarm, no warning sign, just a slow drift backwards. And over time, that gap compounds. Your effort stays the same, but your outcome falls behind. And that's why so many people feel stuck. They're saving, they're being responsible, they're doing everything they were told, but they're not moving forward. Because the system rewards growth and quietly punishes stagnation. 4. The safety trap. Savings accounts feel safe. No volatility, no sudden drops, no stressful headlines, just stability. And that's exactly why people stay there. Because psychologically, safety feels like progress. You don't lose money overnight. You don't feel fear. You don't question your decision. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Safety can be expensive. Not in the short term, but over time. Because when you remove all risk, you also remove the possibility of meaningful growth. And money, by nature, needs growth. Otherwise, it falls behind. Slowly, silently, predictably. That's why this equation matters. Low risk equals low return. Low return equals guaranteed underperformance. No exceptions. Now think about the trade you're making. You're choosing certainty, but not the kind you think. You're choosing the certainty of not losing today in exchange for not winning tomorrow. It's not dramatic. It doesn't feel like a mistake, but it is a limit, a ceiling. Because while your money stays safe, the world keeps moving forward. Prices rise, assets grow, opportunities compound, and you stay still. So no, you're not losing instantly, but over years, you're locked into a slow, controlled decline. And that's the real trap, feeling safe while quietly falling behind. 5. What smart money does differently. Smart money doesn't just sit. It doesn't wait. It doesn't stay idle hoping interest will do the job. It moves. But not randomly, not emotionally, strategically, intentionally, with a system. Because the goal isn't just to save money, it's to assign it a role. And this is where the shift happens. Instead of putting everything into one place, smart money divides itself into layers. Each layer has a job. Each job has a purpose. Layer 1, safety. Cash, savings, emergency fund. This is protection, liquidity, immediate access. Layer 2, stability. Bonds, treasury bills, money market instruments. Lower risk, moderate returns. Capital preservation with some growth. Layer 3, growth. Stocks, ETFs, business assets. This is where wealth is built, where compounding actually matters. Now, here's the mistake most people make. They put 100% of their money into layer 1 and expect layer 3 results. That never works. Because savings accounts were never designed to grow wealth. They're designed to protect access, to be there when you need it. Nothing more, nothing less. So when you expect them to build your future, you're using the wrong tool for the job. And in money, the wrong tool doesn't just slow you down, it quietly keeps you stuck. 6. The hidden cost of doing nothing. Doing nothing feels harmless, safe, easy, comfortable. But in money, doing nothing is never neutral. It's a choice, a silent one, but a costly one. Because every year your money sits in low-yield savings, you're not just waiting, you're giving something up. And that something is powerful, compounding. But here's what most people misunderstand. Compounding doesn't just need time, it needs returns strong enough to matter. Without that, time alone won't save you. Now, let's make this real. Compare two paths. One grows at 5%, the other grows at 10%, over 20 years. The difference? It's not double, it's exponential. A equals P times 1 plus R times T. This simple formula is everything, because when the rate increases, the outcome doesn't grow linearly, it accelerates. At 5%, your money grows, slowly. At 10%, it multiplies. And that gap, it turns into tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. Same time, same starting point, different outcome. And here's the most dangerous part. You won't feel the loss. There's no alert, no warning, no visible drop. Just a future that could have been bigger, but isn't. Because in finance, the biggest cost isn't losing money. It's never giving it the chance to grow. 7. What you should do instead. This isn't about abandoning savings accounts. It's about understanding their role and using them correctly. Because the problem isn't where your money is. It's what you expect it to do. Here's the shift that changes everything. Stop treating savings like an investment. Start treating it like a tool for access, a tool for stability, a tool for control. Nothing more, nothing less. So what should stay in savings? Emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses. Short-term needs, rent, bills, upcoming purchases. Cash buffer, so you're never forced into bad decisions. That's it. That's the job. But everything beyond that, it needs direction. Because money without a purpose defaults to stagnation. And stagnation is just slow loss. So instead of letting it sit, you assign it a role. You decide what portion protects you, what portion grows steadily, what portion builds long-term wealth. Because the goal was never just to have money. It was to build leverage, to create options. Freedom, control over your future. And that only comes from growth, not random growth, intentional growth. So the next time you look at your savings account, don't ask, is my money safe? Ask something better. Is my money doing its job? Because once every dollar has a job, that's when your financial life actually starts moving forward. Your savings account isn't the problem, but it's also not the solution. It's just the starting point. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. You stop playing defense and start building offense. So if this changed the way you see your money, don't ignore it. Move one step forward. Because in finance, the biggest losses don't come from bad decisions. They come from comfortable ones.